What's What's up, everybody? Derek looks a little bit different this week. He decided to grow his hair out, and yeah. So no, this is Rebecca. So I'll let you introduce yourself, and so you tell everyone who you are.
I'm Rebecca Hudgens, and I'm from the Marion campus.
Nice. What do you like to do? What are your hobbies?
I love to swim.
Okay.
I'm on the
Water.
swim team. Yeah. And I love to be at church, and I love to be with my friends.
Sweet. Well,
Yeah.
good deal. She's going to help us out with the watch party today. We're going to recap what we talked about in Bristol, and I'm going to ask some questions about what Rebecca thinks about what we talked about, and also what we talked about last night here in Abingdon. And so we talked about 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 13 through 17 in Bristol. And it talks about, hey, what does it look like to be a Christian? Like, what does it really mean? Like how should a Christian look to the world? And so what the main point of those verses is that it tries showing people, hey, if you're a Christian, you are to resemble Christ. It doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but it means that we try to. And it says, like, hey, don't give anyone any reason to, like, have any kind of slander against you. Like, don't let someone talk. Don't give them a reason to look at you. And, like, this is what I told the students in Bristol. It's kind of like, hey, some of us, especially if you're a Christian and you go to school or anywhere in the public, like you will be the only Bible that someone sees or reads their entire life. Like, how you act or treat others, they're going to look at you like how you treat that teacher that you don't like, how you treat that person that you're not a fan of, how you treat that person that cheated on you, acted out towards you, behind your back, whatever it was. When they look at you, they're going to see a replication of what they think that Jesus should be. And so, as Christians, hey, we're called to be a different people. We're called to represent Christ. And so we talked about that, and we talked about 3 points, and the first one was to spread the gospel. But the second point that we talked about, which was my favorite, and I'll ask you some questions on it, the second point was something along the lines of, hey, in order to share the gospel with the public, you have to share the gospel with yourself in private. Like, you have to remind yourself, hey, Jesus loves me. Like this Christian thing is a relationship. It's not just a one-way thing. It's something that goes back and forth. It's a conversation with God. It's a relationship with God. It's just like if you're dating somebody and you never text them back. Not going to be in that relationship very long. Yeah. Or you can't talk to God too much, but I'm going to make this for a relationship. Some of you guys might, like, if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend and they don't text back in 2 minutes, you can get really upset at them. Listen, you probably should look at yourself a little bit more on that. But the main point we talked about with this that I'm getting at is that in order to be in a relationship to pour into other people, like if you want to share the gospel, as we're called, if you want to tell people about Jesus, you have to pour into yourself. And it's the same thing in a relationship with somebody else. Like if you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, however you want to look at it, if you can't love yourself, it's very, very difficult, and I would say impossible to love somebody else. And I think a lot of people get into relationships before actually going to themselves and saying, hey, I am worthy of love. Like, because Jesus died for me. It's not something that someone has to tell me or someone has to do for me or do to me. Whatever it is, it's none of that. It's only the fact, hey, Jesus cared about me enough to die for me. And that's why I have value in myself. And when you value yourself before you go trying to put value into someone else, you aren't really dependent on each other. You're dependent on God. And that's an important part of relationships, because a lot of people get into it and, just like I was saying, they don't text back in 2 minutes. They hate me. Haha, they're going to dump me. I'm the worst boyfriend ever. I need to get her roses. Hey, you should be able to love yourself before trying to love somebody else. And then the last point we talked about was how important it is to see the unredeemed people as we should love. And what I mean by that is, hey, people who aren't perfect, just like us, how do we love them? And so this is a very difficult call to love that person who cut you off in traffic, to love that teacher that failed you on that test, to love that person who went behind your back, or that guy who dumped you, or that girl who dumped you, whatever it might be. It's hard to love people all the times, but we're called to love everybody. And when Jesus was alive, going through his life on earth, you see him eating with prostitutes and tax collectors. That should blow people's mind, especially in that context. If you were a Jewish person and you did that, you could be kicked out of the community. You could be shunned. And Jesus, not only is he the Messiah, he's perfect, but he comes down to an imperfect world and meets with imperfect people and loves them where they are. He doesn't say you have to be better to talk to me. You don't have to stop doing what you're doing to talk to me. But he says, hey, once you know me, now let's move away from this. Now let's try to be better. But it all starts with love. So, this is my first question to you. Like, as you look around at school, like how apparent, and also like the public, like how apparent, and what are some ways that you have loved on people, and you can see that people need to be loved. Like, what are some ways you see people really need to be loved out in the community?
I would say just paying attention to people, because a lot of times we have our friend group and we just stick with those people. I would say just reaching out, because you never know what like a smile, or a lot of times if I see somebody at school that's just like really down on themselves and you can just tell they're off, I'll just write a letter to them, and sometimes that just like changes their whole demeanor, you know? So I would just pay attention to different people and try to notice whenever something's up, instead of just looking at yourself and realizing when you're upset. Try to realize when others are upset.
Yeah. Okay, here's the second question. What is, and this might be a weird question, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this before. How do you, or how can you share the gospel with people around you? Like, what are some ways to share the gospel with those around you?
I would say, most importantly, at my age, to lead by example. Because people say they're Christians, but actually I was just talking to one of my friends about this, is one of her friends, she said that she doesn't want to have anything to do with Christianity because all of the people that say that they're Christians, they're like go to church and then they don't live like it. So it's like, how can we say that we're Christians when we're not perfect? But I would just say that we can't be perfect, and show people that we know we're not perfect, but yet we're trying to get better, and helping other people get better too. Just encouraging them, not being judgmental, just being an encourager and loving on people.
Okay, so if someone has never been to church before who's watching this video right now, or say like they have been to church but they never invited someone to a church or told anyone about Jesus, what would be like your first step? Like whoever's watching this, they can take a legit like action step right after this. Like, how do you tell someone about church, the gospel, Jesus? What's the easiest way that you found? What's comfortable, and also how can we dig into that? How can we push people to invite people and tell people about Jesus? Because like whatever church you go to, like if it's here, if it's Highlands Fellowship, if it's somewhere else, like hey, it's pushing people to we want people to be in church. It's not just in our youth ministries. It's not just in our church. We want people to be in a church, somewhere connected to the body of Christ. Like we believe that there's power in that. And so what is a physical action step that someone can do that's like your age or younger than you or even older than you, and say, hey, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to make a difference with the gospel this week?
I think you have to look at yourself first. I whenever I was younger was like, I'll get to the age whenever I'm able to make a difference with people, but I never realized that I am at the age that I can make a difference. So stay in the Word and stay in daily prayer, because you would be amazed at what God can use in just a few verses that you read every night. A lot of times the verses that I read one night will be something that comes up in conversation the day after. So if we just stay in devotion to God, God will do the rest. So you don't have to worry about what you're going to say to somebody to invite them to church or to share the gospel. If you're in devotion to God, God will give you that opportunity. That's what I would say. And also just realizing that we all have people in our lives that need Jesus. And so we all have people that we can invite to church. You can't just say, well, he has somebody that he can invite to church, but maybe not me. We all do.
I think that's great advice. And it goes back to like that second point, like, hey, how can you pour out of a cup that's empty? And like a lot of us try to pour out from cups that are empty from a state of love. Like several people are growing up in broken families and divorced parents of addictions, or that maybe you live with your grandparents, whatever it might be. Like a lot of people struggle to feel loved, and it's really tough to pour out of something that is empty. Yeah. Like I remember we had football practice and we ran over to like the water jugs, and like you pick up one of those bottles and you spray it in your face and you just get hit with a burst of air instead of water. Worst feeling in the world, because you're thirsty, because you want love, because you want that water. But when it's not there because no one refilled it, obviously you're not going to get it. But a lot of us treat our life and our energy and our love like something that just replenishes naturally. But in reality, it's a common task. Like, ask anyone who's like in a marriage. Like once you get married, it does not just all stop and become super easy at all. I'm not even married, and I know that. I see people around me, and but it's this common. It's this, hey, I'm gonna get up today and we're gonna fight for this, and we're gonna try at this, and we're gonna go back to this. And it's just like I was saying earlier about the relationship. It's going back to God. It's having that constant communication. It's a two-way street, going back and forth and praying and listening and reading and reaching other people. It's going up, in, and out, like the series we did this last series. It's reaching people and also filling up yourself. And it's this common cycle of Christianity. It's like, okay, I need to go up to God with worship. I need to come in with a small group of people around me. I need to surround myself with a positive group that will build me up and pull me up when I'm falling down and who are going to call me out when I'm messing up. I also need to be going out and serving people around me. Yeah, this fly is, I'm sure we'll like zoom in or something on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but so yeah, that's what we talked about. Do you have anything like from last night that you guys talked about you want to share?
I'm trying to think. It was only last night. What was it that Matt said? It was really good.
Pride and showing, how sometimes it's important to take that pride and take that, how we can stray is by gossiping, and how we can, the little things is where Satan is going to get us when we're strong in our faith, not the killing and the murdering and the sin. It's going to be gossiping. It's going to be staying out of our Bible. It's the little things like that.
Yeah, so recap of that. That was so good. Matthew Maloney said last night, was talking about how just the little things is what like makes him spiral down just by gossiping and like being around the wrong people. And I would say the same thing. And something that has been coming up a lot in my life is just humbling ourselves before God and how rewarding that is. But that's really hard because I would say outwardly I'm not that prideful, but in my mind a lot of times I get caught up in pride, and that leads to gossip, and that leads to other things and other struggles in mental health. So I thought that was really good. Just staying in the Word is going to help that a lot, just humbling yourself before God.
Well, sweet. Well, thank you for helping us out today. That was great. If y'all give it up for Rebecca right here. I know you can't clap or anything, but like, I don't know, salute.
Just silence.
Send her a picture. I don't know. Something. Thanks for helping out today. I'll pray us out and we'll wrap this thing up. Dear God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for being able to get to know you, God. I pray that everyone watching this video, that they can go out and reach their community, God, and they can also come back to you. They can refill their cup, and they can just keep reaching out to you in love. God, I pray for all of us because we all struggle with that thing called pride of, hey, look at me, look at what I did. God, I pray that we can humble ourselves and really glorify you, that nothing that we do is meant to glorify us, but that everything that we do is meant to put you on that throne. God, thank you so much for loving us. I pray for every student here this week that we can all go out and make a difference for your kingdom. Thank you, and we love you. Amen.
Amen.
Well, sweet. Well, hey, hope you guys have an incredible week. If you're watching on YouTube, there's like a subscribe button somewhere. If you want to hit that, go ahead. If you don't want to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you care? I don't care.
No, you should subscribe and comment down below.
Wow. Do what she said. Okay,
Always
bye, y'all.